Welcome to the Foolish Racing Money Under Commentary. This is Owen Tracy recording, and it is 4:09 p.m. that is Central Time, and today is October 24th. Today being Friday, it's the big picture, long-term audio and video for the various different asset classes. And I think that what I'd like to spend today speaking about is the long-term themes that David Fuller and I identified back in 2011 and 12, how that is going, as well as any changes that might have occurred in between then and now, and what could potentially be the big themes over the next 15 years. So there's a lot to unpick there. Well, back in about 2011, we came up with the idea of the autonomies. And in fact, it was uh, David's wife, Graham, who came up with the idea to name it the autonomies. But what we were looking at was the fact that there was companies that were breaking out to new all-time highs, and they seemed to have a commonality, not necessarily in the business that they had, but in the dominant market position that they occupied. And it was an attempt to almost look at oligarchy, but from the perspective of grouping oligarchic type companies together. So obviously there is a trend in capitalism that the trend is towards consolidation, that the most successful companies, they iterate upon a successful strategy, they go off and they buy less successful companies, they get bigger in the process, they come to dominate their respective sector. Ultimately, they gain almost monopolistic control, and then they become subject to antitrust, which breaks them up and restarts the entire process. So we've seen that, for example, with Standard Oil and the breaking up of Standard Oil into the constituent energy companies, and then solidly over the course of many years, we've seen mergers between those oil companies. Well, eventually, and it might take 100 years, but we will probably get back to a very dominant position with a small number of companies again. Well, back in 2011-12, there was lots of examples of these little oligarchies of companies that, when you group them together, they dominate their respective niches. And the things that really stood out were that they had truly global franchises. So they were very early movers in moving internationally, distributing their know-how, manufacturing capacity, their R&D